Islam 001. So it's not an Islam 101 class where you would be diving like really deep into the details. It's more of a very like high level overview, kind of like if someone were to ask the question, like, why should I have a religion?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, not in the details of it, but they're still like toying with that big idea.
Before.
Exactly. Okay. So for Islam 001, I am going to try to use no Arabic. And the reason for that is because I'm expecting the people who listen to this are not going to be Arabic speakers. And I am Arabic and I don't really know the totality of Arabic. So even for myself, it's really helpful. So the word Islam, we're going to start with that most obviously. Do you know what the word Islam means?
I think peace.
It means surrender, yeah, which is very peaceful. But yeah, it means, I guess, a peaceful surrender. And so, if Islam means surrender, what does Muslim mean?
A person who surrenders.
A person who surrenders. Right, and I think right now, a lot of people, because the words are kind of mystical, they're not from here, sometimes we use them in a very narrow way, but in this class I'm going to use them as exactly what they mean, as surrender and someone who has surrendered. So when I look at Islam 001, I'm not looking at one tiny branch of it, I'm going to look at the whole tree of who has surrendered to one God. And so in that definition we start with Adam and Eve at the very top. Everybody knows Adam and Eve were believers in the one true God. And when you're in like sometimes on TikTok videos, Muslim people will comment on the video and be like, Adam and Eve were Muslims. And then you'll just see everybody lose their mind because they'll be like, Muhammad didn't even exist at that time. And so explaining where they get that from. Adam and Eve are Muslims, and if we keep going all the way down the tree, you know, eventually we get to Noah, and then Abraham, and Isaac, and Ishmael, and Moses, and Jesus, and then Muhammad. Peace be upon all of them, because all of them are our prophets. They are all in our holy lineage. We identify these people as believers in the one true God, and so by this definition, all of these people are Muslims. And anyone who has followed their message in a truly, deeply, sincerely, and authentic way are also Muslims. They are also believers in the one true God who have surrendered to him. And so the reason I bring up the family tree is because a lot of the times when we hear the word Islam or Muslim, surrender, or someone who has surrendered, we only think of the one branch of the people who have acknowledged Muhammad as a prophet and submit to his, you know, the book that he recited from the angel Gabriel, and that information that was passed on through that one branch. The reason why I'm not going to stay in Islam 101, I'm going to stay in Islam 001, is because for me, when I ask that question, like, why should you have a religion? Why are we surrendering to the one true God? I think a lot of it has to do with what is our purpose on earth. You know, like, why are we here? And sometimes when you ask yourself that question, the only place you can go is somewhere outside of yourself. A lot of the times when I find myself answering that question, it's like, what is my purpose here? It's to help people. You know, it's to leave the world a better place than the way I found it. And when you think about your purpose being about something bigger than yourself, you know there has to be something else out there that you care about. Otherwise, the only thing you care about is yourself. And so we are surrendering, I don't want to say our lives, because that sounds so severe, but we are surrendering our purpose into being into the hands of something much bigger than us that we don't understand and that we needed to guide us. And so the reason why I look at every prophet when I study this idea or when I study the concept of why would we surrender to a God or to something outside of ourselves, I look at why everybody else did it and how they did it. And so when I look at the three most recent, which would be Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad being the recent one, the recent prophet that goes down this lineage, I look at their lives from pre-Islam. Like, what was the thing that got them to surrender? What was the thing that got them to think about something bigger than themselves? Why were they even asking these kinds of questions? And all of them were born during very similar times of darkness. So if you look at Moses, he was the child of a generation that was killing firstborn men as soon as they were born. So this infanticide was happening. He was the most vulnerable in this event that's happening at his time. And the only thing that saves his life is his mother putting him in a basket and floating him down a river. Right? So this is how scary the times are that he was living in. And it's the same thing with Jesus. You know, he's born and he's looking at the severity of how religion is being practiced. He's seeing the pressure that these people have put themselves under. Like, you have to do everything perfectly, otherwise you are not a true and holy believer. And so Jesus comes to do what? To flip tables over and to tell everybody, hey, relax, just be a little bit more loving. And so he's coming at a time of extreme pressure in religion. And so he came and kind of took that pressure off by saying, yeah, you have to try your best, but you're not going to be perfect, so just be human. And then when you look at the time that Muhammad comes, female infanticide is just the norm. You know, a baby girl is born, they dig a grave, and they bury her the same day that she's born, and she just suffocates to death. And this was actually something that was practiced by Umar ibn al-Khattab, who was third in command after the Prophet died. And so it just kind of goes to show, like, yes, they had very extremely ignorant practices that were going on at that time, but then you bring it to our time now. And it is so normal for me to be seeing a headshotted infant. It's so normal. I can pick my phone up at any point and see a headshot to an infant. So we're talking about these people's times as if they're far away, but they're not. Like, we are in that time right now, once again, where babies are no longer safe on earth. And this is a big problem. And and if it's not a big problem to you, you have to check your heart, right? There's a lot of hearts that are being checked right now and being separated. Do you care about dead babies or do you not? And that's really what the end of every issue on earth is right now. And so now we're at a time again where we're asking ourselves this question: what is our purpose, right? All these men were born during these moments of history where the injustice is so thick that they have to step back from their own wants and their own desires and to say, how do I contribute to the greater good? How do I get this world to care about the most basic human rights? And so when I look at what they all did to get to that point, when I study it, it's identical. There was a formula to finding the answers to the questions they were asking themselves about what can I do to help this world. And if you know the story of Moses, he went up a mountain, right? He's going up a mountain, he's by himself, he's secluded, and then God speaks to him during this seclusion. In Jesus' story, it's a very similar story. He's gone into the wilderness for 40 days and nights, he's alone, he's seeking something, and after that time alone, he finds something. And with the Prophet Muhammad, he was in a cave by himself in a mountain, contemplating the life that he was born into, the injustice that he was born into, taking that time to just sit in the silence, to ask the silence a question and just see if it'll respond. And they found that when you are silent, something does respond. There is something that you can ignite within yourself. And they came to share this message with the world that, hey, what you're looking for, it's not so far away. It's not in the things that you buy. It's not in your social connections. It's not outside of you. There's something inside of you that you can connect to that will guide you and lead you to creating the best life here on earth. And so when I looked at that and I saw that all of them had such similar routes and very similar progress, but that's a different thing because, you know, that was the will of God. You know, they were selected to be prophets, and so they had that special designation. But outside of that, we don't have to be prophets. And if we look at the prophets' lives, I think if we took an honest look at ourselves, we would say, yeah, I don't want that life. That was a really rough life that you lived. But I think we do want to contribute something. And I think we do want to ignite something inside of us that's bigger than ourselves to take over and to clean up whatever it was that the darkness left behind. And so when I look at what they did, silence is the biggest indicator or the biggest connection. It's the golden rope that connects all of them together. They were all sitting silently when they were looking for this solution, to this connection, to this help that was bigger than themselves. Silence was really, really important. Another that was important was many times they would be fasting. So we know Jesus fasted for 40 days and nights. When Muhammad went to the mountain, he would pack very, very small amounts of food and be there for like 2 weeks at a time. So clearly a reduction of consumption is needed to be silent and to stop consuming the world around you and just kind of separate yourself from it for a little while. Which brings us to detachment, right? And the practice of charity. And like, why are we actually doing it? Is it because God just wants us to give our money away so we can feel like we're connected to something? Or is it because we are supposed to be disconnected? Like, this isn't our home. Maybe that's something that we really need to respect and leave it the way we found it. Stop messing with it. And so when I look at all of this, these are things that are doing things. But on the inside, what was their emotional blueprint at the time? Their emotional blueprint was humility. They understood that they couldn't do this. They couldn't save the world around them. There was too much injustice for one person to make a difference. And so they went into these silent caves helpless, in absolute humility. Yeah, we can't fix this world. We really need you to come take care of this. And so it was in that silent humility that they found the answers that they were looking for. I bring all of this up because over the next 5 weeks, what my aim is to do is to introduce us to each of these superpowers, I guess, or tools that have been left behind for us to use. They're completely free. We can exercise them at our own will. But essentially what I'll be doing is for the next 5 classes, I'm going to talk about the 5 pillars of surrender. And they are intention, prayer, fasting, charity, and pilgrimage. And we're going to talk about how do we use these tools on a daily basis to flip whatever is in us that is outward facing and make it face inward again. Make it bow and face inward again. And when that happens, what will unlock? And if enough people do it, how much of a change can we make in this world? So I'm going to be doing exercises, different exercises in each of those classes that will all be self-reflective. We might do a silence exercise. We might do a journaling exercise. We might do a quiz about our highest qualities. And so it's really going to be the next, actually 5 weeks are going to be you getting to know yourself, seeing what's in there, seeing what you have to offer, seeing where the connection is, and then seeing what happens, seeing where that leads you. And I'm hoping enough people will be interested and enough people will want to hear this message, because to me, this is Islam 001. And as we go forward into the next sections of the class, there's going to be a lot more mention of Islam 101, which is going to be more focused on like the Prophet's specific practices. But I will only address them in a way that shows how universal they are, and that anyone, anywhere can practice this. And you don't have to call yourself anything. You can just call yourself a believer, and that's enough. And that's it. That's my class. Do you have any questions?
I don't think I do know those.
Do you mind if I record you while you speak?
Oh,
Is she talking loud enough?
Yeah.
Yeah?
okay.
Can you switch it so that it can face her? Because I want them to hear any questions.
I'm not sure I have any questions. It seems like it introduced everything pretty comprehensively. Although I'm intrigued to talk about pilgrimage.
Awesome. Do you have anything that you feel like was that differs from the message of Islam that you normally hear, or feels like unsafe, or like I might be leading into a misunderstanding in any way?
I don't think so. No. No, not that I remember.
Do you feel surprised by anything you learned or heard?
No, I don't think so. Although again, talking about pilgrimage as a universal and something that can be practiced daily, it's very intriguing. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Okay. Do you have any questions, baby?
I think you started to make it easy for people what is mean Islam. You make
That's
it
what I'm
easy.
hoping
Yeah.
for. Okay. That's my class. I will post it to YouTube. You're gonna stop me.